I never asked to be chosen. I never stood before a mirror and imagined myself worthy of anything extraordinary. I was a girl from Nazareth, a small, dusty town that most people pass through without a second glance. My hands were calloused from work. My mornings smelled of fresh bread and olive wood. My prayers were simple, quiet things, offered up in the stillness before the rest of the house woke. I did not dream of angels. I did not dream of prophecy. I dreamed of a quiet life, a good husband, a warm home, children who would grow strong in the faith of our fathers. But God does not always call the ones who are ready. He calls the ones who are willing. And on one ordinary evening, in one ordinary room, in one ordinary town that nobody noticed, heaven leaned down and whispered, "By name, my name is Mary." And what happened to me was not ordinary at all. This is not just my story. This is the story of what happens when a human heart says yes to the impossible call of God. If you believe in the power of this story to touch the heart and transform thoughts, sign up now. Together, we can bring these teachings to those who haven't had the chance to hear them yet. I was born in the season when the fig trees were heavy with fruit. That is what my mother always told me, that the air smelled sweet the morning I came into the world, and that my father wept when he first held me. Not from disappointment, as some fathers did when daughters arrived instead of sons, but from something softer than that, from wonder. She said, as if he already knew I was something set apart. I did not know that then, of course. I was only a baby, wrapped in linen, breathing in the scent of my mother's skin, unaware that the weight of heaven had already settled quietly over my small life. My mother's name was Ann, at least. That is what tradition has carried down through the years. Anne, a woman of deep faith and patient prayer. She had known seasons of longing before I came. She had knelt in the corners of our home and lifted her emptiness up to God with the kind of quiet desperation that only a woman who has waited a long time truly understands. And then I came, and she received me as an answer. She told me once, when I was old enough to sit beside her while she spun thread in the late afternoon light, that she had dedicated me to God before I drew my first breath. "You were always His," she said, not with sorrow, but with a kind of reverent certainty that settled over me like a warm shawl. I did not fully understand what that meant then, but those words never left me. Nazareth was not a grand place. I want you to understand that from the beginning, to picture it not as something glittering or important, but as it truly was. Narrow streets of packed earth. Stone houses with low doorways and inner courtyards where the sound of children playing echoed off the walls, the smell of cooking fires in the evening, of spices and lentils, and the thick, rich scent of olive oil heating in clay pots, the sound of donkeys at dawn, and the call of women to one another across rooftops, exchanging news, exchanging laughter, exchanging the ordinary currency of daily life. This was my world, and I loved it. I loved the roughness of it, the realness of it, the way the stones beneath my bare feet held the warmth of the sun long after it had set. I loved the taste of water drawn fresh from the well in the early morning, cool and clean against my lips. I loved the blue of the sky over Galilee, a particular shade of blue that I have never found words enough to fully describe. Deep and wide and somehow personal, as if God had painted it just for us to look at, that this was my childhood. Simple, ordinary, beautiful, and the way that ordinary things are beautiful when you learn to look at them with grateful eyes. My father was a quiet man. He was not a man of many words, but the words he did speak were always measured, always careful. As though he understood that language was a gift not to be wasted, he taught me to pray before I knew what prayer truly meant. He would wake before the sun, when the house still held the cool darkness of night, and I would sometimes slip out of my sleeping mat and follow him to the corner of the courtyard, where he knelt and lifted his face upward with his eyes closed and his lips moving into silence. I would watch him from the doorway. Something about that image, that man, my father, kneeling before the invisible God with absolute certainty, carved itself into the deepest part of who I became. Faith, I learned, was not loud. Faith was a man kneeling in the dark, trusting that someone was listening. My earliest memories of the synagogue are memories of sound, the chanting of the men, low and rhythmic, rising and falling like the tide, the Torah scrolls, handled with such tenderness, as though the men who held them understood they were touching something alive. I could not read those scrolls myself, girls. We're not taught to read in the way boys were, but I listened. Oh, how I listened. I stored the words inside me the way a dry cistern stores rain, greedily, gratefully, not wasting a single drop. I learned the Psalms by sound before I understood them fully by meaning. I learned the stories of our people, of Abraham, who left everything on the word of God alone, of Sarah, who laughed and then believed, of Moses, who stuttered and yet spoke for heaven, of Hannah, who wept in the temple until God opened her womb. These were not just stories to me, they were a map, a record of what God had done before, which meant a promise of what God could do again. There was a woman in our neighborhood whose name was Rebekh. She was old by the time I was young, old in the way of women who have lived fully, her face a landscape of wrinkles and her eyes still bright and quick behind them. Rebecca had survived things I could not yet imagine. She had buried a husband, she had buried 2 sons, she had known hunger and loss, and the particular grief of watching what you love most slip through your fingers like water. And yet she prayed every morning and every evening in her small house at the edge of our street. She prayed with a consistency that seemed to have nothing to do with whether or not God had answered. I asked her once, I was perhaps 8 years old, bold in the way children are before the world teaches them caution. I asked her why she kept praying when so many sad things had happened. She looked at me for a long moment, then she said something I have never forgotten. Child, she said, I do not pray because life is easy. I pray because I know who holds the hard parts. I did not fully understand her then, but I would. My girlhood passed in the way that girlhood does, in small moments, strung together like beads on a cord. The scrape of my knees when I fell running down a stone path, the warmth of my mother's hands braiding my hair in the mornings, the laughter that burst out of me like water from a cracked jar when my cousin Elizabeth made faces behind the rabbi's back, the stillness of Sabbath evenings when the whole house seemed to exhale and time itself slowed down. These are the textures of the life I was made from, and even now, looking back from the other side of everything that happened, I would not trade a single one of them, because those quiet years, those unremarkable, ordinary, beautiful years, were the soil in which God was growing something, growing me. I just did not know it yet. There were things I wondered about in those years. There were questions I turned over in my mind the way you turn a smooth stone in your hand, not with urgency, but with a quiet, persistent curiosity. I wondered about the prophecies. I had heard the words from Isaiah spoken aloud in the synagogue, the promise of one who would come, the deliverer, the one on whom the Spirit of the Lord would rest. I wondered when. I wondered what kind of person would carry such a weight. I wondered if it would happen in my lifetime, or if it was the kind of promise that stretched out beyond any one generation's reach. I never wondered if it could have anything to do with me. Why would I? I was nobody. I was a girl in a small town in Galilee. I was the daughter of quiet Anne and my gentle father. I was ordinary in every way I could measure, which is, of course, exactly the kind of person God has always chosen. The years of my growing were years of learning what it meant to belong to God, not in a formal, studied way, though I treasured every word of scripture I heard, but in the lived, practiced daily way. Belonging to God meant waking up and offering the day before it had even begun. It meant working, the grinding of grain, the drawing of water, the mending of cloth, not as drudgery, but as a kind of prayer in itself. Each motion of the hands, an act of trust that this life, this ordinary life, was exactly where God had placed me. It meant sitting with grief when grief came, and with joy when joy arrived, and learning to hold both with open hands. It meant praying for the coming of the Messiah, not as an abstract religious duty, but as a genuine longing, a real hunger. Come, Lord, come. Whispered in the dark before sleep and murmured again in the first light of morning. By the time I was a young woman, something had settled in me, not certainty. I had many questions still, and I would have more, but something quieter than certainty, and in some ways deeper. A settledness, a sense that God was real, that God was near, that God was working in ways I could not always see, and that my part in all of it was simply to remain open, to remain willing, to remain faithful to the small, ordinary, unremarkable life in front of me, and to trust that He who had begun a good work in the world would be faithful to complete it. I did not know yet what completing it would require of me. I did not know that the answer to every prayer I had ever prayed, every whispered "Come, Lord," in the dark, was already moving toward me. I only knew that I was a girl from Nazareth, and that somehow that was enough. There is a kind of growing that happens in silence, the kind you cannot see while it is happening, the kind that only reveals itself later, when you look back and realize that all those quiet years, all those mornings of prayer and afternoons of labor and evenings of listening were not empty. They were full of preparation, full of the slow, patient, invisible work of God shaping a vessel for a purpose. She did not yet understand. That was my growing up. That was the hidden season of my life. I want to tell you about the water. Every morning, before the sun had fully risen, I would take the clay jar from its place beside the door and walk to the well. It was not a long walk, perhaps 10 minutes through the still, cool morning air, but it was a walk I made almost every day of my young life, and in the making of it, I learned something essential about what it means to live faithfully. The jar was heavy when it was full. My arms would ache by the time I reached home, the weight of the water pulling against my shoulders, my bare feet careful on the uneven ground. But the ache was a good ache, the kind that comes from doing necessary work, and something about the rhythm of it, the going out, the filling up, the carrying back, became a kind of meditation for me over the years. I would pray while I walked, simple prayers at first. Rote prayers, the ones I'd been taught from childhood, the blessings, the psalms, the words worn smooth by generations of use. But gradually, as I grew older, the prayers became more my own, more honest, more searching. I prayed for our people. I had grown up knowing the weight of occupation, the shadow of Rome that fell across everything, the soldiers in the streets, the taxes that pressed ordinary families into hardness, the low murmur of discontent that ran through every gathering like an underground stream. I was not political. I was not a woman who thought much about kingdoms and armies and the movements of history. But I felt the heaviness of it in the daily life around me, in the tired faces of the men, in the careful way people lowered their voices when certain subjects came near, in the particular kind of weariness that settles over people who have been waiting a very long time for rescue. And so I prayed, "Come, Lord, come to your people. Do not forget us. The prayer of every faithful heart in Israel, rising up through centuries like smoke. I did not know that my prayer was, in a sense, about to be answered in a way that would involve me more directly than I could have imagined. It was in these years that I began to understand the stories of the women who had come before me. I mean, truly understand them, not just as accounts of ancient events, but as mirrors held up to my own experience. Hannah, who wept so deeply in the temple that the priest thought she was drunk, who poured out her longing to God with such complete abandon that decorum fell away and all that was left was raw, honest prayer, who received an answer she had stopped expecting. I understood Hannah. I had my own quiet Hannahs, not dramatic ones. Nothing that anyone watching would have called intense, but private moments of longing that I brought to God with more honesty than I sometimes brought to anything else. Longing to understand my purpose. Longing to know what my life was for beyond the good and ordinary things that filled it. Longing, and this is perhaps the most honest thing I can say, to matter, not to be famous, not to be celebrated, just to matter in the way that every human soul secretly hopes to matter, to be part of something larger than themselves, to be used by the one who made them for something that lasts. Ruth was another one I returned to in my thinking. Ruth, who had every reason to walk away, but chose to stay, who said those extraordinary words, "Where you go, I will go," and meant them with her whole life, who followed faithfulness into an unfamiliar country and found herself woven into a story far greater than she had planned for herself. I loved Ruth. I loved her because her devotion was not dramatic. It was not attended by signs and wonders. To keep trusting that the God who had guided Naomi was also guiding her. Even when the path was hard and the harvest was uncertain, I wanted to be that kind of faithful, the kind that doesn't require the dramatic to sustain it, the kind that holds steady in the ordinary. My mother watched me carefully in those years. I would sometimes catch her looking at me with an expression I did not fully know how to read, something between pride and wistfulness and a kind of held breath anticipation, as though she was watching for something, as though she knew something was coming that she could not quite name. I asked her once on a Sabbath afternoon when the house was quiet and the two of us sat together in the shade of the courtyard. I asked her what she was always looking at when she looked at me that way. She was quiet for a moment, then she reached out and put her hand against my face. "You have been given a heart that is very open," she said. "I pray every day that you will keep it that way, that the world will not close it." I thought I understood what she meant. I think now that she meant more than I realized. The challenges of those years were not dramatic ones. I want to be honest about that. My life was not a story of persecution or exile or visible suffering. There were harder lives all around me. Women whose husbands had died, whose children were sick, who struggled under the weight of poverty in ways. My family, though simple, did not my challenges were quieter. They were the challenges of a young woman trying to understand her place in the world, trying to stay faithful when faithfulness felt invisible and unrewarded, trying to hold on to hope in a time when hope was a discipline rather than a feeling, trying to trust in a God who was often silent. And that silence, that is something I want to talk about honestly, because it was real that there were mornings when I prayed and the sky above me felt like stone, when the words I lifted up seemed to go nowhere, to dissolve into the air without reaching anyone, when the promises I had memorized felt like things said long ago about people who were nothing like me, in circumstances nothing like mine. I did not call that doubt, I called it honesty. Because I think the most faithful thing a person can do in those moments is to keep praying anyway, to keep showing up at the well, to keep carrying the jar, even when it feels empty, to say with every footstep, I trust you, even though I cannot see you, even though I cannot feel you, even though the sky this morning is silent and hard. This is the kind of faith that is not built in a moment. It is built in days, in weeks, in years of small choices to stay, to return, to keep showing up. I was betrothed to Joseph in the way that such things happened in our world. It was arranged, as all such things were. Families speaking to families, agreements made, futures shaped by conversation and consent. But I want to tell you what I felt, because that matters too. When the arrangement was made known to me, I did not feel the swooning kind of love that appears in the stories told around evening fires. What I felt was something quieter and more solid than that. I felt, right? As though this was a piece of a design I was too close to fully see. Joseph was a good man. I mean that in the deepest sense, not simply that he was kind or hardworking or decent, though he was all of those things, but that he was good in the way that means something when it matters. He was a man who prayed, a man who was quiet in the same way. My father was quiet in the way of people who have learned that the most important things are often said without words. He looked at me with eyes that were respectful and gentle, and something in me relaxed when he was near. The way you relax when you come in from cold air into a warm room. I believed we would build a good life. I believed we would pray together and work together and raise children together who would grow up knowing the stories of our faith, and that this would be my life, good, faithful, ordinary, and enough. I did not know yet what was coming. How could I? But even then, even in the quiet, ordinary, unhurried days of my betrothal, something in me was restless. Not unhappy, not discontent, just alert, as though some part of me, some deeper part than thought or feeling, was listening for something, waiting, as though the whole of my life up to that point had been a kind of preparation, a long, slow drawing of a single breath, and the exhale had not yet come. I did not have language for it then. I simply lived with it, the quiet alertness, the unexplained sense of held breath, the feeling that God was not finished yet, and He was not. He was not finished at all. The month before the angel came was an ordinary month. That is the thing no one talks about when they talk about the moments that change everything. They do not talk about how ordinary the days before were, how completely unremarkably ordinary. I woke and prayed. I went to the well. I helped my mother with the cooking. I visited with neighbors. I thought about Joseph. I watched the sky at evening, that particular Galilean sky that I loved so deeply. And I prayed the old prayers and felt the old longings and lived my small, beloved life. And God was watching. God was already moving in ways I could not see, from angles I could not anticipate, with a plan so enormous and so tender that it had no comparison in all of history. He was moving toward me, and I did not know. I only kept being faithful. I only kept being open. I only kept the jar ready. It was evening, the particular kind of evening that comes after a full day, when the body is tired in a way that feels clean, when the light is going golden and long across the stones of the courtyard, when the air begins to cool in the way that makes you grateful to be inside a body that can feel temperature. I had finished my work. I had tidied the room. I had said my evening prayer, kneeling in the way my father had taught me, lifting my face slightly upward the way he always did. And then I had simply stayed there on my knees in the quiet. I could not have told you why. There was no particular reason to stay. The prayer was finished. The day was done. The evening meal was waiting, but something kept me there, something that I can only describe, looking back as a kind of holy gravity, as though the room itself was holding its breath. because I do not have sufficient words for what happened. And I am aware that anything I say will fall short of the reality, but let me try. The light, not sunlight, not lamplight, not anything that belongs to the ordinary world, entered the room. Or perhaps it was always there and only now became visible. Or perhaps the room fell away and what remained was only the light and me within it. I cannot fully say. What I can say is that every other thing, every sound, every sensation, every thought I had been carrying simply stopped. And in the stopping, there was a presence. And in the presence, there was a name. Greetings, favored one. The voice was not a sound that came through my ears. That is, it was more as though it moved through me, through everything I was. A vibration, almost. A resonance. As though the words were being spoken at a frequency that my whole body could receive, not just my hearing. The Lord is with you, favored one. The phrase struck me first with confusion, and then with something that I can only honestly describe as fear. Not fear of the presence, though the presence was overwhelming in a way I had never experienced. Not even close. Not even in my best and deepest moments of prayer, but fear of the words themselves. Favored, the Lord is with you. What did that mean? My mind moved quickly over the possibilities. None of them comfortable. In every story I had ever heard, when God drew near to a person in such a direct way, it was not a simple matter. Abraham was called to sacrifice everything he loved. Moses was called from a burning bush to confront the most powerful ruler in the world. Isaiah, in the vision of the throne room, cried out that he was undone, a man of unclean lips. Being favored by God in the scriptures was not a gentle, painless thing. It was a holy thing, a weighty thing. And weight, I had learned, changes you. The angel spoke again, and this time the words were not just resonant, they were direct, specific, personal, in a way that I was not prepared for. Do not be afraid, Mary. He knew my name. Of course he knew my name. But hearing it in that voice, in that presence, carried a tenderness that made my eyes sting. You have found favor with God. He spoke then, he told me. And the telling was both the most astonishing and the most terrifying thing I had ever heard. He said I would conceive. He said I would bear a son. He said I was to name him Jesus. He said this son would be great. He said he would be called the Son of the Most High. He said the Lord God would give him the throne of David, that he would reign over the house of Jacob forever, that his kingdom would have no end. I need you to stop with me for a moment. I need you to let those words sit the way they sat in the room that evening, because I was not a theologian sitting in a study considering the words calmly. I was a young woman kneeling on the floor of an ordinary room in an ordinary town, and the weight of what the angel was saying was descending on me in waves. The Son of the Most High, a kingdom without end, and I was to be the vessel. A girl who went to the well every morning. A girl who braided her hair with her mother's hands and ground grain and prayed simple prayers and dreamed of a quiet life with a good man. I asked the only question I could find in myself. And I want to tell you that it was not a question of doubt. I have heard it framed that way sometimes, as though asking how is the same as saying no. But I was not refusing. I was trying to understand. How will this be? I asked, since I am a virgin. A practical question, a human question, the question of a young woman who had been told something that exceeded every natural framework she had ever known, trying to understand the mechanics of the impossible. The angel's answer was not a set of mechanics, it was a declaration. The Holy Spirit. He said, the power of the Most High. He said, overshadowing, and so the child to be born would be holy, would be called the Son of God, and then This is the part that undid me, that broke something open in my chest that had been sealed until that moment. He told me about Elizabeth, my cousin Elizabeth. Old and barren, thought past the years of possibility. She was with child 6 months. And the angel said it as simply and as gently as a man stating a fact. For nothing will be impossible with God. Nothing will be impossible with God. I had believed that in the way that you believe things learned in childhood, sincerely, but at a distance. Believed it about Abraham and Sarah, believed it about Hannah, believed it about the great moments of Scripture that felt consecrated by time and distance. But to have it placed in front of me, not as history, but as now, as an immediate, personal, present tense reality, to be told that right now, in this moment, the impossible is happening. To be told that my cousin, my Elizabeth, whose grief I had carried alongside her in my prayers, that she was expecting a miracle in her body right now. 6 months along, something in me broke open, the sealed place, the place where the theoretical and the real finally meet. And in that broken open place, I found my answer. Not because I fully understood, not because the fear had left me, it had not. Not entirely. Not because I could see the path that lay ahead of me, I could not. Not even a step of it, but because in that moment, in the presence of that overwhelming, tender, knowing holiness, the only thing that felt true was surrender. Complete, open-handed, eyes wide open surrender. I am the servant of the Lord, I said. And the word servant was not a small word. It was not a word of passivity or defeat. It was the word of someone who has understood in a moment of total clarity that the highest possible position a human soul can occupy is one of willing, loving, chosen service to the God who made her. Let it be to me according to your word. Let it be, not I suppose, not if I must. Let it be an act of will and an act of faith, an act of love toward a God I could not see and a future I could not comprehend, and a child I had not yet met who would be somehow the fulfillment of everything every prayer had ever asked for. The light shifted, the presence receded, and I was alone in the room, kneeling on the same floor, the same evening light coming through the same opening in the wall, the same clay jar near the same door, everything the same, nothing the same. I stayed on my knees for a long time. I could not have stood if I had wanted to, not because of weakness, exactly, but because standing felt premature, because the ground beneath me had just shifted in ways I could not yet measure, and moving too quickly seemed unwise. And so I knelt and I prayed. Not structured prayer, not the prayers I had memorized, just the sound that comes out of a heart when it has been broken open by something too large for words, a kind of groaning, a kind of gratitude, a kind of yes that kept moving through me in waves, each one deeper than the last. Yes to the child I could not imagine. Yes to the path I could not see. Yes to the cost I had not yet counted. Yes to the joy I had not yet felt. Yes to the God who had chosen the ordinary and unremarkable and small and made it the place where heaven would enter the world. Yes. The morning after the angel came, I woke up and the world looked the same. That surprised me. I had expected something different. Some visible mark on the air, some change in the quality of light that would announce to the morning that something had happened here. But the courtyard was as it always was. The sky was its familiar blue. The sound of the neighborhood waking, distant voices, a child crying somewhere down the lane, a donkey somewhere protesting the start of a new day, was exactly as it had always been, and yet everything was different. I was different, not visibly, not in ways anyone looking at me could have named, but inwardly, in the place where the soul lives, something had been permanently altered. I lay still for a little while in the morning, quiet, and I tried to take stock of what I was feeling. It was not simple. It was not one thing. It was many things, layered one on another like cloth folded into a bundle, each one present, each one real, each one pressing against the others. Was gone the largest layer. Awe at what I had been shown, at what I had been told, at the presence that had come into the room and spoken my name and known me, fully and completely known me, in a way that no other has ever known me. Awe that I had been in the presence of something wholly beyond description, and had not been destroyed by it, but had instead been held. Under the awe was gratitude, an enormous, inarticulate gratitude that had no object fine enough to receive it properly. And so it simply moved through me like warmth moves through a stone that has been in the sun, slowly, permeating every layer, settling in the depths. Gratitude that God had seen me, not just known of me, in the way that the Most High knows all, whose creation, but seen me specifically, tenderly, by name. And under the gratitude, I want to be honest, was fear. Not the fear I had felt when the angel first appeared. That had been the fear of the overwhelming, the natural response of a human creature, encountering something far beyond the scale of ordinary experience. This was a quieter fear, a human fear, the fear of the unknown road, the fear of what I could not yet see. How would I explain this? What would this mean for my betrothal, for Joseph, for the life we had planned together in the ordinary and beloved way of ordinary and beloved people? What would people say? I was not naive. I knew what an unexplained pregnancy would look like to the world around me. I knew what was at stake. I had grown up on the law. I knew what the law permitted. I knew that my word, even my honest, true, genuine word, might not be enough to protect me. But here is what I also knew, and this is the thing I held on to through those first hours of the morning, through that first long day of the new life. The angel had not sent me into the unknown alone. He had given me a sign. Elizabeth, my cousin, my dear elder kinswoman, 6 months, along with a child of her own, a child the angel had called the forerunner, the one who would prepare the way. If Elizabeth was carrying a miracle in her body right now, 6 months along, then God was already at work in ways I could not see and could not have planned. The impossible was already happening. My impossible was not the first. My yes was joining something already in motion. I made the decision to go to Elizabeth quickly. I needed her. I am not ashamed to say that simply and plainly. I needed to see her. I needed to be in the presence of someone who would understand, not because she had been told what I had been told, but because she was a woman of faith who had lived in the gap between promise and fulfillment, who had prayed and waited and trusted and been answered in ways she had stopped expecting. She would understand the bewilderment. She would understand the gratitude. She would understand the fear. The journey to Judea was several days on foot. It is a journey I will never forget. The landscape shifted around me as I walked, the familiar hills of Galilee giving way to the rougher terrain of the south, the olive groves and the terraced hillsides and the wide, dusty stretches of the middle country. I walked mostly in prayer, not the kind of prayer that is looking for answers, the kind that is simply staying in contact, simply maintaining the thread. I am here. I am moving. I am trusting you. I cannot see ahead, but I am walking forward. The prayer of every person who has ever stepped off a known edge into something unknown. The prayer of every person who has ever said yes before they could see where yes would lead. And as I walked, something else began to happen. A song started to form in me. I do not know how else to describe it. It was not a deliberate composition. It was not me sitting down to write something. When it finally found words with the thing I was feeling most, My soul magnifies the Lord. Yes. That was it. That was the whole of it. Before I even found the rest of the words. My soul magnifies the Lord, not diminishes, not questions, not manages, or tolerates, or patiently endures. Magnifies. As if I were a lens through which the light of God could be made larger, more visible, more accessible to the world around me, as if this, all of it, my ordinary life, my smallness, my unremarkable Galilean existence, was not an obstacle to God's purposes, but the very means of them, just as if God had chosen the small precisely so, that the large could not be explained by anything other than Him. He has looked on the humble state of His servant. Yes. That was me. That was the truth of my situation exactly. I was low. I was not powerful, not educated, not connected, not prestigious. I was a young woman from a small town who went to the well every morning with a clay jar. And yet, from now on, all generations would call me blessed, not because of anything I had achieved, but because of what He had done, the mighty one, the one whose name is holy. The song grew as I walked line by line, word by word, each piece arising from somewhere too deep for deliberate thought. He has shown strength with His arm. He's scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. He's brought down the mighty from their thrones and exalted those of humble estate. He's filled the hungry with good things, and the rich He has sent empty away. He has helped His servant Israel in remembrance of His mercy. This was not just my story. I understood that as the words came, this was all of our stories. Every prayer that had ever risen from a hungry and waiting people, every cry from the margins, every voice that had been overlooked, underestimated, pushed to the side of history's great movements, God remembered, God kept His promises, and He was keeping them now, through me, beginning in the quietest possible way, not in a palace, not through a king, not through a council of powerful men, but in a conversation in an ordinary room between a young woman and the messenger of heaven. I arrived at Elizabeth's house on the 4th day. I was tired. My feet ached and my back ached and my heart was full to overflowing with everything I'd been carrying since the evening the angel came. I called out her name from the path, and when she heard my voice, just my voice, my greeting, something happened that I will hold in my heart until my last breath. She cried out, not in surprise, not in polite welcome, in recognition, as though the sound of my voice carried something she already knew. She blessed me. She blessed the child within me, the child no one had told her about, the child that was just beginning, the child whose existence I had not announced and could not have explained. She knew. "Blessed are you among women," she said, "and blessed is the fruit of your womb." And then she said the thing that broke me open all over again. "Why is this granted to me that the mother of my Lord should come to me?" Mother of my Lord, she called me that. And in calling me that, she confirmed everything the angel had told me, not just with words, but with the spirit that moved through her. The same spirit that had overshadowed me, the same spirit that was even then beginning a holy work that the world was not yet ready to see. I wept, there in the doorway, I wept the way you weep, who had something too large to be held inside, and finally finds an exit, and Elizabeth held me. One near the end of a miracle and one at the beginning. Both of us caught up in something far beyond ourselves. Both of us bewildered and honored and afraid and grateful. We stood there. And God was in the room, as certainly as He had been in my room with the angel, as certainly as He had ever been anywhere. He was here. He was here in the embrace of two women who understood that the most ordinary things, agreed in, a visit, a voice calling across a threshold, can become the most holy things when God is moving through them. I stayed with Elizabeth for 3 months. Those months were among the most formative of my life. We prayed together, we talked, we shared the weight of the extraordinary things that had been asked of us. We laughed more than I would have expected, given the enormity of everything, because laughter, I have always believed, is one of God's most underused gifts. And Elizabeth had a laugh that filled the room. We were afraid together, honestly afraid, not performing courage, not pretending the road ahead was easier than it was. And in the honesty of that shared fear, something grew between us that was stronger than fear, something that held, something that would need to hold in the days ahead. It was Elizabeth who helped me understand that the yes I had given was not a single act. It was a direction, a life posture, 1,000 smaller yeses nested inside the one large one, each morning, each challenge, each moment of uncertainty that called for a fresh surrender. The Lord asked Abraham once, she said to me one afternoon, sitting in the shade of the courtyard while the baby moved within her, but he asked Abraham over and over, in every test, in every year, in every unexpected turn. The first yes is the beginning, the yes that follows every morning. That is the faithfulness. I listened. I stored the words. I knew I would need them. And I was right. I would. I returned to Nazareth carrying everything. The child within me, barely beginning to show, the memory of Elizabeth's voice, her blessing, the warmth of 3 months of shared faith and honest conversation. The song that had come to me on the road south and that I still heard moving through me on quiet mornings, like a river that does not stop flowing just because you have stepped away from its banks. And the uncertainty, the very real, very human uncertainty of what I was walking back into. I want to tell you about Joseph. I want to tell you because I think it matters, because the way God worked in him is part of this story, not just a footnote to it. When I returned and my condition became clear, Joseph knew the mathematics as well as anyone. He was a good man. I've said that before, and I mean it as deeply now as I did then. He was a good, thoughtful, careful man, and because he was good, his first impulse was not to expose me, not to make of my situation a public event with cruel consequences, but to release me quietly. He was going to let me go, gently, painfully, with whatever grace he could manage. What no one saw was what happened to Joseph in the night between his decision and his action. He told me later, he told me the way that men who are private by nature tell the most important things quietly. At the end of a long day, with his eyes looking somewhere past me and his voice carefully measured, he had dreamed, and in the dream a messenger had come. And the messenger had said to him, "Do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. Do not be afraid." The same words that had been spoken to me, the same opening, the same invitation to step forward through the fear into something that did not yet have a shape. Joseph had woken from that dream and had come to me. And in his eyes, when he looked at me, there was something I had never seen in anyone's eyes before. The particular clarity of someone who has just been let in on something far larger than themselves and has chosen, with full knowledge of what it costs, to say yes. We were married quietly, simply, as we had always planned, except that nothing was as we had planned, and everything was exactly as it should be. And if there were whispers in the neighborhood, and there were, because there always are, because small towns hold their stories close and turn them over carefully, we let the whispers be. We did not defend ourselves. We could not have explained what we knew, not in a way that would have been understood, not then. We simply lived it, faithfully, quietly, together. What I want to tell you, what I want to leave with you as the thing that matters most from all of this, is something about what I learned through the whole of it. From the childhood years of going to the well, from the years of storing up scripture in a heart that couldn't formally read it, from the watching and the waiting and the wondering, from the angel and the Annunciation and the song, from Elizabeth and the 3 months of shared miraculous life, from Joseph and the dream and the quiet faithfulness of a man who chose to believe when belief was not easy. From all of it, what I learned is this: God meets ordinary people in ordinary places and asks them extraordinary things. And the miracle is not only the extraordinary thing he asks, the miracle is that he asks at all. The miracle is that he looked at Nazareth and looked at me and said, "Here and her." The miracle is that he is still doing it. He is still looking for people who go to the well every morning, people who store up the word in quiet years that feel unremarkable, people who kneel in the dark the way my father knelt, not because the sky is open and resonant, but because they know that someone is listening even when it does not feel that way. People who, when the moment of the impossible comes, and it will come in one form or another, in one shape or another, will find in themselves the grace to say, "Let it be to me according to your word. Not I will try, not I suppose. Let it be." The full opening of the hands, the complete surrender of the plan, the willingness to be used by God for purposes larger than you can see, in ways you would not have chosen, through costs you cannot yet count. Do not misunderstand me. I am not telling you that the road of yes is painless. It was not. The story that follows the Annunciation, the birth in a place of animals, the flight from a murderous king, the years of ordinary life in Egypt, and then in Nazareth again, the growing tension of a son who was also the Son of God, the day I would one day stand at the foot of a cross and know that what I had called the price was even higher than I had imagined. None of it was painless. A sword, the old prophet Simeon would one day tell me, would pierce my own soul. He was right. He was completely right. But the pain does not undo the yes. That is the thing I want you to hear. The pain is part of the yes. It is not evidence that the yes was wrong. It is evidence that the yes was real, that it cost something, that it mattered. The things that cost nothing rarely matter very much. The things that cost everything, those are the things that change the world. My yes changed the world, not because I was extraordinary, but because I was willing. Because when heaven leaned down into my ordinary room and whispered my name and asked the most astonishing thing that has ever been asked of a human soul, I did not run. I did not refuse. I did not demand signs and certainty before I would move. I asked one honest question and I received one honest answer. And then I opened my hands. Let it be. And here's what I need you to hear before I leave you. Your room is ordinary too. Your life may feel small. Your town may feel like Nazareth, the kind of place that doesn't make it onto anyone's list of important places. Your hands may be calloused from the work of showing up every day in quiet faithfulness. Your prayers may feel like they go up into a stone sky. Some mornings, you may be in a season of waiting so long that waiting no longer feels like faith. It just feels like your life. But God has not forgotten you. He has not passed over you in favor of someone more impressive, more educated, more polished, more worthy. He is looking at you, specifically, tenderly, by name. And the plans he has, the impossible, astonishing, history-altering plans that can only be explained by the power of the Most High, those plans include you, not the version of you that has everything together. Not the version of you that has stopped doubting and stopped asking honest questions. This version, right here, in your ordinary room, with your clay jar and your calloused hands and your quiet, persistent, faithful heart. You are favored. The Lord is with you. Do not be afraid. Nothing is impossible with God. End of chapter 5, a final word. The story of Mary begins long before an angel arrives. It begins in the ordinary years, in the quiet, unobserved faithfulness, in the going to the well and the kneeling in the dark and the storing up of the word and the praying of the prayers when the sky feels like stone. It begins in the willingness to remain open, to remain ready, to remain even in the unremarkable years, the kind of person who, when heaven speaks, already knows how to listen. Be that kind of person. Keep your jar ready. Keep your hands open. Keep your heart toward him, because he's always moving, and he's moving toward you. And Mary said, "My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior." Luke 1:46-47.